All right, so this Elon Musk, Donald Trump thing.
Right.
It's a lot to unpack. Like,
Yeah.
on the one hand,
Sure.
you've got the guy who's like, taking us to Mars, electric cars, all that.
Yeah.
And then, out of nowhere, he's all in on Trump for 2024.
Yeah, it's a head scratcher.
To say the least, right? Like, I seem to remember him being a lot more into, Obama, Clinton, back in the day.
Yeah. You're not wrong. It's a serious about face, that's for sure.
Not just, like, tweeting support either, right? We're talking full-on dark MAGA rally appearance.
Full on? Butler, Pennsylvania, no less?
Butler, Pennsylvania. Okay, so there's got to be a reason he picked that spot, right?
Oh, absolutely. Huge symbolic weight behind that choice, especially for the dark MAGA crowd. Like, that whole faction, they're on a whole other level. And Butler, that's where that whole assassination attempt thing went down, you remember?
Yeah.
So yeah, not a random pin on the map. Not at all.
So he's playing 3D chess while everyone else is stuck on checkers.
Basically. And it goes even deeper than that, because we're hearing whispers of, like, $500 million going into Trump's campaign coffers.
$500 million? I mean, come on.
Yeah, you could buy a small country with that kind of money.
Exactly. Even for Musk, that's got to be a huge chunk of change.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
We're talking record-breaking territory here, even by presidential campaign standards. And it's not just the amount, it's the how. Super PAC, right?
Right, super PAC. So basically, he can just pump unlimited cash into the system. No strings attached.
Pretty much. They can spend it however they want. No need to coordinate with the campaign directly. It's like a loophole big enough to drive a Tesla truck through.
So less oversight, more firepower.
Exactly. It's about maximizing impact, and this is the way to do it.
And this America PAC thing, that's his baby, right?
All him. And it's not just about bankrolling Trump either. This is about building a whole political machine from the ground up.
Okay, so what does that look like in practice?
Think voter mobilization, data crunching, even good old-fashioned door knocking. They're playing the long game here.
Wow. So he's taking all the Silicon Valley tricks, all that data-driven stuff, and applying it to politics.
The whole new ballgame.
And what's the average voter supposed to make of all this? Like, is this a good thing, bad thing?
That's the million-dollar question.
It really is.
And it gets even more interesting when you start thinking about what Musk stands to gain from a second Trump presidency.
Okay, let's talk about that. It's kind of scary when you think about a president having that much sway over, like, space.
Oh, yeah.
But let's bring it back down to earth here for a sec.
Sure.
Can't really talk about Musk and influence without mentioning...
X.
Yeah, X.
Yeah.
Like, the whole Twitter thing, now it's X, just adds another layer to this whole thing.
Yeah, it's not just another layer. It's a whole other can of worms, right? Because now he's got control of this, like, insanely powerful platform.
Right.
Millions, billions of people all tuning in.
Like, he can control the message,
He
basically.
can amplify it, yeah.
Yeah.
He can silence critics, shape the conversation, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
Remember that whole woke mind virus thing?
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
That was like...
How'd that go viral so fast?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, he just tapped into this, like, undercurrent of anxiety, and boom, it's everywhere.
Right, right.
Now imagine that, but weaponized.
Oh, what?
For political gain.
Yeah.
And we've already seen glimpses of it, right? The pro-Trump stuff, slamming the Democrats, even like giving oxygen to those election fraud theories.
And then there's that whole thing about the chilling effect inside X itself.
Right, right.
Like, people are scared to disagree with him, even internally.
Which is a whole other problem in itself, right?
Yeah.
Because that's how you stifle creativity, innovation, the whole point of a platform like that.
Yeah, it's like everyone's walking on eggshells.
Exactly. But it's even bigger than X, isn't it?
It feels like it.
Like, this is just one example of this much bigger trend.
What you mean, tech billionaires basically running the show.
Or at least having a disproportionate amount of influence.
All right.
Right. Yeah.
And without much accountability.
Right, because he's all about free speech. But it's like, who's free speech?
Exactly. When one guy controls the megaphone.
It gets blurry.
Very blurry. So we've got this billionaire throwing his weight behind this, let's be honest, controversial figure, using his platform to spin the narrative. What's the game plan here?
Yeah, like, what's he hoping to get out of this?
Because it can't just be about ideology.
No, there's got to be more to it.
We need to follow the money here, right? Like, what does a second Trump term mean for Musk's bottom line?
Good point, yeah. So it's like a mutually beneficial situation.
Or, to put it more bluntly, a quid pro quo.
Right. Like, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours.
Except we're not talking about backs here. We're talking about the future of, well, everything.
Yeah, no, it's a bit, I don't know, unsettling is the word.
To say the least.
Yeah.
Because where does that leave the rest of us?
Right.
The average person who doesn't have billions to throw around or a direct line to the Oval Office. Exactly. So, let's talk about those potential gains for a sec. Musk's companies, Tesla, SpaceX, Neuralink.
Right.
They're all pretty reliant on the government. No. Contracts, subsidies, regulations, all that.
Well, absolutely. These aren't your typical startups operating in a vacuum. They're playing in a space with huge government involvement.
So a President Trump, second term, he'd be more likely to, give Musk whatever he wants, less red tape, more green lights?
It's not necessarily about handing him a blank check, but about influence.
Yeah.
Access. A seat at the table where decisions are made.
Okay, so what does that look like in practice?
Think about digital regulations. AI oversight, space exploration policy. These are all areas where a president can exert enormous influence.
And Musk's been pretty vocal about wanting to shake things up in those areas, right?
Oh, yeah. He's been openly critical of existing regulations, sees them as stifling innovation.
So under a Trump administration, those regulations might look a lot different.
It's certainly possible.
And we can't forget about taxes either, right?
Right, because those directly impact Musk's bottom line, a lot.
And wasn't Trump's whole thing, massive tax cuts,
Right.
especially for corporations and the wealthy?
Exactly. So any changes to corporate tax rates, capital gains, inheritance taxes, those have huge implications for someone like Musk.
Man, this is starting to feel bigger than just one election,
Oh, it's way bigger. This is about a fundamental shift in how power operates in this, tech-driven world.
So it's not just an American thing, then?
Not even close. We're seeing this trend play out globally.
Billionaires calling the shots, basically.
In a way, yeah, and using their wealth and influence to shape the political landscape to their liking.
So for those of us without a billion-dollar war chest, what can we even do?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And it's not an easy one to answer.
Yeah.
But I think the first step is awareness.
Awareness that this is happening.
Exactly. Because once you see the strings, so to speak, you can start to think critically about the information you're consuming.
So, question everything.
More like question the source. Seek out diverse perspectives. Don't just exist in an echo chamber.
It's a lot to take in.
It really is.
Yeah.
But we can't afford to be passive observers in all of this.
So basically, we got to stay informed, stay engaged, and think for ourselves.
Exactly. Because the future of, everything might depend on it.
That's a pretty good note to end on, I think.
Indeed.
Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive. It's been, a lot.
A lot to unpack, for sure.
But hopefully this conversation will encourage you to, learn more, think critically, and stay engaged.
Because the choices we make today, they shape the world of tomorrow.
And on that note, we'll see you next time.